black and white. Black and white. Oh, 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 oh. Just black and white. Come on, baby. Love, no more, baby. Black and white. Come on, baby. Just black and white, just let me go. It's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. White, white, white. Just let me go. It's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. White, white, white. Just black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh, 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 oh. Just black and white. Just black and white.
Road Atlanta as it's still searing after the special event here just a few days ago. And once again, you join me in the commentary box, my Jack Werrell alongside Peter MacKay. Peter, you looking forward to this one?
I certainly am, yes. It's there's actually a little bit of a connection between Road Atlanta and my failed travel plans. I actually should have been landing in Atlanta Hartfield Jackson Airport today to go to the Petit Le Mans, but sadly stuck at home, but delighted to be joining you in the commentary box for what I'm sure will be a very exciting race here at this wonderful circuit in just outside Atlanta in Brazelton, Georgia.
Yeah, it's one hell of a circuit. After driving here for multiple hours of the Petit Le Mans myself, I've got to say, very challenging circuit, quite easy on first glance, but the undulation change, the high curbs, the very unforgiving grass, which you end up going onto every now and then, it really does bring a new challenge to this series. And only 2 weeks after Suzuka, they're almost polar opposites. A big old circuit is Suzuka, lots of runoff, lots of forgiveness, although we did see multiple cars getting caught out there as well. Road Atlanta, speaking of a new challenge, what do you think this is going to throw into the mix? Because we've still got new drivers rocking up every now and then, and we're now heading into the US campaign of this series. Do you think this is something that's going to start heading into the latter stages of the season? Just little extra challenges that the drivers have got to cope with?
Well, I always think of Road Atlanta as a hilly Sebring, if that makes sense, because it's in some places it is incredibly bumpy, and these curbs here at Road Atlanta can really bite hard, and particularly in the opening sector or two, coming down the S's and then through the left-hander at turn 5 onto the straight, small back straight. It's very, very tricky indeed, and of course these GTE cars do not have anti-lock braking system, so that makes it very, very tricky to get the car slowed down without pinching a wheel and locking up slightly. So we've got to watch out for that as we head through the evening.
Yeah, lots of different bits that the drivers will have to deal with as we go on. We are in qualifying at the moment in the closing stages, of course. Only 4 minutes just under left to go, and at the top of the times, no surprise, it is Vincenzo Amico for Ronin Sim Sport Academy. But for the first time, we're seeing a bronze driver in second place in qualifying. It's his Ronin Sim Sport Academy teammate, Anthony Larson. Sorry about the paint not loading this evening. I have had a slight issue with my paint back. I'll do what I can to get that sorted on the fly. But at the moment, Vincenzo Amico on provisional pole position with a 1 minute 14.83. The only driver to get into the 1 minute 14s. His teammate Anthony Larson just missing out on the chicane. I was going to say just missing out on the 114s as well, posting a 1 minute 15.01. Then we get to the G drive part of the timings. Rob Tyson at the top of that pair with a 1 minute 15.06, putting him in third. Ben Thanes in fourth at the moment with a 1 minute 15.17, and then we get back up in the mix. And Anton Dupin Flemish Simsport's livery for me isn't loaded, so what I will do for you is I'll try and get everything sorted again, because for some reason none of my paints are loaded, Peter.
Well, unfortunately, the Matthias Sufi's paint's loaded for me because it's got that hideous Chaz Draco Media sticker on the back of it. I thought we'll get it in early. We'll get it in early when our dear colleague Chaz is busy commentating on the first round of a new season of the British Boring Car Championship as well. So, yeah, it's the times are pretty tight at the top there. We've got obviously Vincenzo Amico, Anthony Larson up top, but they're only separated by 0.2 of a second. And then just 0.005 of a second behind Larson is Tyson. So I think it's going to be a great battle between the G-Drive guys and the Ronin guys. And of course, both of those teams are using the BMW M8, which is known for its, actually strangely, even though it commands quite a large footprint, it's actually quite maneuverable. It's you can get it up on its tiptoes quite nicely. And it's got the grunt as well down the very long back straight here at Road Atlanta, so long that previous owner of the circuit, Road Atlanta, of Road Atlanta, a guy called Randy Lanier, and also the Whittington brothers, used to land their private aircraft on the back straight. It's that long in the 1980s, and so you do need a car with a good balance, and that is what the BMW has. It's maneuverable, but also has some good grunt on the straight. So no surprise, really, to see 4 BMWs up the front. And I believe at Petit Le Mans on iRacing last weekend, nobody chose any other car apart from the BMW M8. It was basically a one-make series for BMW M8s at Road Atlanta.
I can imagine so. We know they are incredibly competitive, and they've proved us right throughout the season so far. I'm trying to find these liveries. I've got them downloaded somewhere. I can't find them where I'd usually expect to find them, so I am sorry. I will continue to work on it as the session wears on. There is Giuseppe Nazzo coming round through the final couple of corners, currently in P13, crosses the line now. Does he improve upon his fastest time? No, posts a 1 minute 16.449, only a quarter of a second, if that, slower than his current fastest time. Would have been provisional P13, P6 in class. So slowly the times are coming in. That's Vincenzo Amico still sat in the pit lane. Let's see who else we can get with. Here is Franco Neusman. Is anybody coming over the line? Surely there is Scotty Angelo. So what we might have to do is, bearing in mind we've just been mentioning how good the BMW actually is. Let's see how Scotty can pilot this big beast around the Road Atlanta circuit. Or Simtech racing hard into turn 1, maybe not. He's lifted off, so the one time we need you to go full send, Scotty, you decide not to. Matthias Sufi, he does exactly the same. It's because we're at the end of the session. I think Scotty could have got a lap in, but decided against it. So that will bring an end to the qualifying session, and that was short-lived. I wanted to get a bit more on-board action, but it was a busy session for a lot of the drivers, because most of the drivers putting in over 10 laps in what is only a 25-minute session. That's really picking up the pace. I think somebody completed 15 laps. Yes, Sandro Ballesteros, 15 laps completed. Cami Sturch with 16. That's a very, very busy qualifying session for her.
Absolutely, yeah. Getting out there and getting the laps under your belt, and that's really important here at Road Atlanta. When you get into that groove and that rhythm, it's a lovely circuit to drive, and yeah, getting the hang of it is very, very important. So Cami Sturch, yeah, she's up in 10th place right now, the second of the Fords. The only Ford GT ahead of her is Mr. Steady Eddie himself, Anton Dupin, in 6th place, and Matthias Sufi. Good qualifying from him as well, in 8th place in the Ferrari, and the only Ferrari in the top 18 at the moment. So I don't quite know why the Ferrari's fallen out of favour all of a sudden, because it's a lovely car. It's a really nicely balanced car.
It really is. I got to say, I did a bit of driving in it today when iRacing was down for maintenance, and it is a beautiful car to drive. I don't own it, but I've got to say, it is a very, very nice car. Really enjoyed driving it. We're just waiting for the session to tick over so we can get some of the confirmed qualifying results, as I'm still frantically scrolling through my downloads, and I still can't find any of the paints, and I'm not sure why they're not loading at all. I'll have a look in a couple of other places that they may end up being. Hopefully the session ticks over pretty sharpish. There we go. The session has ticked over now. So Peter, I'm going to hand it off to you to run us through the grid.
Okie dokie, so business as usual for Vincenzo Amico for Ronin Simsport Academy with a 1:14.826. Anthony Larson just under 2 tenths behind from his teammate. On row 2 will be the G-Drive Eximia drivers of Rob Tyson and Ben Thanes. Row 3 will be Sam Baxter, the leading Porsche for Fury Simsport, alongside the Ford GT of Anton Dupin. Ronald Moons, Mr. Excitement himself in the 69 Porsche, will roll off from 7th with the sole Ferrari of Matthias Sufi in 8th. On the 5th row of the grid is Bram van Uytven alongside Cami Sturch for Team Ford Zilla. Row 6 will be Scotty Angelo alongside Kim Behate for Flemish Sim Sports. On row 7 will be Giuseppe Nazzo and John McConville. Row 8 will be Stuart Musselwhite and Thijs Berg. Row 9 will be Bradley Brockes and Sandro Ballesteros, both driving for E-Team Brit in the Ford GT. Row 10 will be Stephen De Wolf and Marius Janka for Manitai Racing. 21st will be Martin Deckens alongside Hendrik de Greve. And finally, Steve Cooley rounds out our 23-strong field for 90 minutes of racing here at Road Atlanta. All the drivers gathering up behind the Porsche Line 11 pace car, and they get a full pace lap here, so they've got plenty of opportunities to get some heat into the tyres and get some heat into the brakes, which is critical for those opening stages.
It really is, and I've got to say, I'm sorry everybody, because I've been sat here trying to find a paint pack that doesn't exist. It has never existed. We run trading paints here on the GT EVO Series. It's because sadly I couldn't attend the GT Pro Series last night. And I got my dates mixed up. So we are running trading paints this evening. So you can see the liveries loading in the background. So sorry about that. We can now see all the beautiful liveries on show. Anton Dupin in chat asking to turn it on. So just for you, Steady Eddie, we're going to see whether we can get a camera angle on your beautiful Flemish Simsports for GT. We might be able to get one pretty sharpish. There it is. Looking for a better night, I think, tonight, Peter, because over the past few weeks, he's not really had the best of luck. He's had a couple of little incidents, a fair few big ones, and some of them through no fault of his own. So this is the time where he really needs to pick up the pace to get some points back in.
Yeah, it is for sure. And Road Atlanta is, sorry for any Anton Dupin fans. The Road Atlanta is a tricky circuit to do that. You know, the Ford is a very, very capable car, but it's quite it's quite twitchy when you get. It doesn't necessarily like the changes of direction and the braking on the curbs. So you just watch out for that as we go through the race. It's certainly not quite as comfortable as the BMW or even the Porsche of late. The Porsche's got some really good traction, quite a lot of understeer on the Porsche, but you've got very, very good on throttle traction, which is nice. So, but if anyone can tame it, Anton can.
Definitely can, indeed. And speaking of gaining points back, let's have a look at the points we've got. The points that have been collected so far this season. So Ben Thames in the championship lead with 475 points, followed by his G-Drive teammate Rob Tyson on 350. Kamil Yagizoglu there in third with 346. Then Billy Fletcher on 310. Ronald Moons there on 304. Anton Dupin there in sixth with his teammate below on 290 points and 274 respectively. Then we get to Brandon Uitman, Sven Calvo and Matthias Super making up the top 10. John McConville on 222, Dominic Forster on 219, Maurice Anker on 218, so those two looking to battle it out. Then Martin Deckens for Dynamics on 212, Hendrik de Grave in 15 on 205 points, and then we'll just let you read through the rest before we run out of time on this very quick qualifying lap compared to where we've been so far this season, because we've had really long circuits like the Silverstone GP circuit in Sebring, of course, and here at Road Atlanta it's come around very quickly, hasn't it?
It does, yeah. Just one. It's about a minute and 15 and 16 to get around here at Road Atlanta. So yeah, it goes in pretty quick indeed. Can anyone do anything about Vincenzo Amico? It's going to be a big ask to keep the number 78 BMW at bay.
It really will be. And Mr. Ronin Sim Sport Academy himself, does he beat the throttle now? He does. So both the Ronin Sim Sport Academy driving towards the line here for round 8 of the Simracersworld GT EVO Series. It gets underway here at Road Atlanta. Vincenzo Amico still leading the way, bringing his teammate with him, Rob Tyson there in third, Ben Thames fourth, Sam Baxter fifth, Anton Dupin there in sixth, Ronald Moons in seventh, Matthias Super in eighth, Cammy Sturge and Brandon Uitman have swapped places coming off the start. I think we've had a couple of cars starting from the pit lane as well, trying to gain back some of the incident points that they have gained throughout the season. But back up to the front though, there is Vincenzo Amico doing his usual, getting out front nice and early and starting to build that gap. But look at this now, Anthony Larson under pressure from Rob Tyson around the outside. He's got to be brave to get it done there. Doesn't decide to commit to the move just yet. That's Anthony Larson sideways in the middle of the road. Was that contact, Peter?
I don't think it was. It was certainly not from the angle I was looking at. No. Yeah, he was gone on he was already gone. Yeah, that's probably just a cold tire, and just lost the rear slightly. And well, that's not good news for Vincenzo Amico, because he was doing a great job of keeping the G-Drive guys behind. But look at this in the Porsche. Sam Baxter in the Fury Simsport Porsche has made his way through to third place, so he split the G-Drive guys. So it's going to be up to Rob Tyson to chase down Vincenzo Amico, but already about 6 or 7 car lengths between them.
There is indeed, but like you mentioned, that Porsche doing an amazing job. It was the unfavoured car going into the series after the most recent updates. Let's see how it shapes up. Currently the highest place for Porsche. Well, he was. That's commentator's curse for you. Bounces off the wall, grabs a gear, gets going again, almost takes out Brandon Uitman, rejoining the track. Let's have another look back at what happened there. I think he might have been helped into the wall by Ben Thames.
I think he was getting on the curbs there and just getting a little bit bumpy. Let's see. So yeah, get cut over, and then you're right. He's already spinning, and then he gets a handy nudge from one of the G-Drive guys. I think that was Ben Thames, as you said. So yeah, adding insult to injury really there. So what a pity, because Sam Baxter was just flying before that.
He really was, definitely on a mission. There's Ben Thames. Right up here is Rob Tyson, and then 2 seconds already up the road is that man there, Vincenzo Amico, back to his usual standards right the way up in P1 and pulling out a gap. Only 2 laps of the race completed, and 2 seconds is the gap. So a second a lap at this rate, Vincenzo Amico is going to be in a different state come the end of the race. Back towards the closest cars on circuit as Bradley Brocky's had an incident. No, but the 2 E-Team Brit cars are battling it out. I think that was Sandro Ballesteros. No, that was the recovering Anthony Larson carving his way up through the order and past both the E-Team Brit cars of Sandro Ballesteros and Bradley Brocky's. once again in flying formation. Giuseppe Nazzo in another one of the 911 RSRs under pressure here from John McConville, who isn't a privateer. I'll have to change that as we go on. He's racing for Simracersworld Esports, as you can tell by the very bright liveried BMW. Let's have a look to see who the closest cars are on circuit. Somebody who I don't think we saw start qualifying or start the race from the usual grid spots is Marius Janka.
Yeah, he was starting quite far back. Now, of course, if any of our viewers are new to the SRW GT EVO Series, first of all, welcome, and we should probably explain about the incident points over the season. So on the iRacing simulator, basically the simulator, the software applies penalty points for misdemeanors throughout the race. So if you step over track limits, or if you go off track in any way, you are given 1 incident point. As we see, Stuart Musselwhite getting into the side of one of the Flemish Sim Sports. Is that Kim Behate? Well, he will behate that. That little contact there from Musselwhite. So that there, folks, would be 4 incident points. Contact with another driver, 4 points. If you spin or hit the wall, that's 2 incident points. Now, Jack, remind me, you're the man clued up on these. How many do they have for the season?
So for the entire season, they have a 60 incident point limit, and with 10 rounds, you've got to make sure you minimise how many incident points you get. Like Peter said, 1 for the off-track, 2 for a loss of control, and 4 for heavy car contact. And you get the occasional 0 whether you clout the curbs or just graze another car. But 60 over a season is going to be very difficult to keep it under that. So the drivers have been given multiple chances to gain incident points back. If you do a minimum of 50 laps practice in the midweek session, you gain back 5. Although I've heard over the past week here at Road Atlanta, instead of doing the full circuit, they've just been doing the shorter circuit, the little club circuit. So at the bottom of the hill, the road goes uphill and to the right, and then rejoins just as we're going past it now on the run up towards the final chicane. And a few of the drivers have been doing that to gain back some incident points. A massive moment for Stuart Musselwhite. I think he changed down the gears a little too quickly there, over-rotated the car. Let's have another look back, Peter. We've seen this already this season. What do you think?
Well, this is a very tricky braking zone. Yep, whoa, just loses it on the brakes there. Just a little lock-up. And again, we saw, you know, at the very, very highest level in the Petite Le Mans, with the, you know, top split, the, you know, broadcasted live with commentary from John Hindhaugh of Radio Le Mans fame, and yeah, one of the World Championship drivers, forgive me, I can't remember who it was, but made that exact same mistake. So fear not, it happens to the very best of them. It's just it's quite a sharp downhill braking zone. The trick is to try and keep the car straight until you've got it slowed down, and then chuck it into the hairpin. Into the chicane, sorry. So yeah, it's a tricky braking zone there. Matthias Sufi, he's having a good run in that Ferrari, the sole Ferrari. He's in 6th place right now, and although this is the only sole Ferrari in the race, Ferrari do have quite a good heritage at this race. That particular car, the Ferrari 488, has won Petite Le Mans in the real world twice with the Risi Competizione team, and the original Petite Le Mans in 1998 was won by one of my favourite ever cars, the Ferrari 333 SP, with none other than Wayne Taylor on board.
Yeah, they're definitely keeping up their strategy here at Road Atlanta, and Matthias Sufi's trying to keep up with it as well, like you say, up there in P6. Back to the incident points though, 10 incident points gained back if you start from the back, and I think we saw it today, a couple of drivers starting from the pit lane. Scotty Angelo, Thies van den Berg, Stephen de Wolf and Martin Deckens, I do believe, all started from the pit lane, so they gained 20 incident points back, so it could be a bit of a saving grace if you can get that done at this stage in the season. The next round we go to Daytona Road Course, a very challenging circuit, very, very tricky turn 1. It's a very, very tricky sector 1 if you're side by side as well. So that I think is going to be one of the hardest circuits to master throughout the season. Then we go to Spa on November the 4th, which you definitely want some incident points in hand, don't you, Peter? Because off tracks they're quite easy to get around there.
Oh, massively, yes. For whatever reason, they are so tightly enforced at Spa. You just feel like you think, oh no, I'm right within it there, and then the little message pops up on the top of the screen, and you're like, come on, give me a break. They are stricter than your most horrible teacher at school, the stewards at the virtual Spa here on iRacing. At Road Atlanta, not too bad. But just the thing to worry about at Road Atlanta is just the sheer difficulty of the circuit. I mean, look at this undulation. Maybe we get an on board with Cami, if she can take us on a tour of Road Atlanta. Yeah, here we go. So we're on the nose of Cami Sturges Ford GT. She's up to 7th place. So this is coming down the S's, and you just go off the edge of a cliff here, and you're hanging on from dear life, trying not to wear the tyre out into turn 5. Watch for that curb on the inside. Matteo Sufi just got a little bit unsettled there over the crest, heading down towards turn 6. Now this is the most important section in the whole circuit. Into turn 6, tuck the nose in, and then get the car slowed down. The exit of this corner, turn 7, really, really important. And then onto the long back straight, and of course Cami's in perfect position here to get a good draft from Matteo Sufi in front. So she's tucked right in behind, and the faster they go, the more draft effect there will be. As we're heading down over the crest of the hill, down towards the chicane, 10A and 10B. Hard on the brakes. Yep, Cami's gaining quite a bit there. Clip the curb on the left, clip it on the right, and up and under the Suzuki GSXR bridge, and that's your lap of Road Atlanta.
Thank you very much, Peter, for guiding us on a tour of the Road Atlanta circuit. And Cami Sturge doing a brilliant job chasing down Matteo Sufi. Matteo with a good start. He gained 2 positions from where he started. Cami Sturge gained 3, and I think that was at the expense of Sam Baxter, because he's now slowly catching up behind the wheel of his 911 RSR. And speaking of Porsche, Peter, what would you say is the best way to keep up with all Porsche news?
Oh, well, absolutely no question about it. PorscheSport.com, the world's leading independent Porsche news site. There's some great features on there at the moment. In fact, there's one on there at the moment about it's called The Story of Car 19, and it's about the 3 underdogs who won Le Mans outright in 2015. Nico Hulkenberg, El Bamber, and Nick Tandy. Well, they're not Hulken. They wouldn't be they wouldn't be underdogs anymore. They're much more likely to be called the favourites nowadays. But 5 years ago, very much the early days for those guys with Porsche. And of course, Nick and Earl still kept on as factory drivers for that factory. We also have the Porsche Sport podcast, which comes out every Thursday. So you can find it on all major podcast providers. Just search Porsche Sport podcast, and you can subscribe to it and never miss an episode. Brilliant
stuff. Just to echo the sentiments, obviously Porsche Sport bringing this championship to you here on Simracersworld TV alongside Dynamic Simulators, Strasser and Abruzzi, of course. We've had a few little off-track moments for a couple of drivers, the first being Hendrik de Grave. This is turn 1. If you clip that grass on the outside, it's a one-way train up the hill. Oh, yep, there you go, on the grass, locks everything up, trying to keep it out of the wall. Does a good job, no traffic around him, so he can rejoin safely. We've had 2 incidents for Scotty Angelo, this being the first one on lap 7, and this was the turn 6 and 7 part of the circuit. Runs slightly wide on the grass. Does he keep it pointing the right way? He does indeed, and he's had another. I'm guessing this is coming through the final couple of corners, going into the chicane. Does the rear snap around? It almost, and finally carries the momentum through and round, going through the final chicane. Grabs reverse, grabs first once again. Covers the track in all kinds of debris, but does get back going again. So not a great lap from Scotty Angelo, but he's continuing on nonetheless behind the wheel of that Simtech Racing BMW. Back up to the front now after a fastest lap of the race for Vincenzo Amico, a 1:15.55. That would have stood him in very good stead in qualifying, let alone the race. He's now set a purple sector 1, 11 seconds. That's all it took him to go from the start line all the way down the hill and up towards turn 5. Sector 2 isn't much of the same story, but as he goes onto the back straight, just look here, brakes in a straight line, chucks the car in. You can see the car squat as he jumps on the brakes and then throws it in and puts the foot to the floor once again for the long run onto the straight and in towards the final chicane. Still being chased down by Rob Tyson. It's nice to see both the G-Drive boys back out on circuit, and after a couple of weeks of not seeing them, this is quite a good comeback drive for them both, isn't it? Yeah,
they're doing a great job for sure. Quite often we've actually only had one of them rather than 2, so it's nice to see both Rob Tyson and Ben Thanes out there today. So they've just come down the big long back straight at Road Atlanta, where in the first ever Petit Le Mans here in 1998, Yannick Dalmas actually flipped his Porsche 911 GT1 coming down there, which must have been absolutely terrifying. That was the same year that Mercedes had the same issue at Le Mans, when Peter Dumbreck and Mark Webber both flipped their Mercedes CLK GTRs into the undergrowth. Very, very scary indeed. But yeah, that was that. And actually, his co-driver his co-driver would have been Alan McNish, but of course Alan never got to get in the car because, well, it was upside down in a tree somewhere.
Yeah, quite scary incidents that year, definitely. And I can imagine just going down the hill on all four wheels for me is quite a scary prospect. But I can imagine it's very scary going down on your roof. We've had 3 retirements already, and all 3 are all Dynamics racing cars. Thies van den Berg, Steven de Wolf, and Martin Dekkins. So 2 BMWs and a Ford out the race. The highest placed Dynamics racing car at the moment is Bram van Ootman. There he is, in the 3rd place Porsche, or the 3rd fastest Porsche at the moment. Then right the way up to the fastest Porsche though, Ronald Moons there in 5th position. Sam Baxter on his comeback drive, looking to pick up a position from Matthias Sufian. I'm sure he's trying to get past Matthias as quick as possible with that Chaz Drake Media logo behind. He doesn't want to stare at that for any longer than he has to. Now through the final corner he goes, ticking lap number 12 in the book, going on to lap, or ticking lap number 11 in the book, going on to lap 12, runs very wide out the final corner. Now on the room to turn 1, you can see the slight damage on the tail end of Sam Baxter. It looks very little, like I said, very slight damage, but that rear diffuser, it's so important to the downforce of that Porsche, isn't it, Peter?
It's massive. Yeah, you're spot on there, Jack. It's for those who are unfamiliar with the GT cars, you'll see on the back of them, underneath the rear wing, you'll see really, really big bits of carbon fiber. They kind of look like I don't know about you. They kind of look like big tunnels, and basically it's designed to push the back of the car. And so there you go. It looks like a tray that's on the back of the car, and that is actually this version of the Porsche 911 RS R17 introduced in 2017. That was basically, they actually did something very typically un-Porsche, where they moved the engine from right at the very back, which is more typical for the 911 that it's based on, and then shunted it forward a little bit by swapping the engine and the gearbox around. The idea is so that they could fit that much bigger rear diffuser to allow that more rear downforce. And well, the results were very impressive. The car won at Sebring, it won at Petit Le Mans, and it won at my apologies, it won at Le Mans as well. So it certainly worked. The new version of the car, the 19, which is a little bit more of just a kind of evolution, has a slightly bigger engine and side exit exhaust, again to try to maximise the efficiency of the rear diffuser.
Yeah, they definitely know what they're doing at the Porsche factory with their GT cars. But BMW are the ones on the screen at the moment. Marius Janka just picking off John McConville on the run up towards turn 1. Very brave move from him. Got another off-track moment for Scotty Angelo. Let's have a look to see what happened. This is going up towards turn 6 and 7. The double right-hander. Oh, this time it's at turn 6, hard in the concrete wall. Does he continue on? Lets off the brakes, carries the momentum out towards turn 7 and continues on. We'll go back live with him to see how he's getting on. That's not John McConville, that's not Scotty Angelo. There is Scotty Angelo. He has continued on for another lap. Flame spitting out of the side of that BMW M8. A fastest lap, a personal fastest lap for Vincenzo Amico, 1 minute 15.47. And with him already holding the fastest lap, that is the fastest lap of the race as well. And once again, he's going quicker and quicker and quicker on worn tyres. You can see the car, it almost looks on the edge through the downhill section. Quite an aggressive setup, I think, this evening has been chosen for, by Vincenzo Amico for Ronin Sim Sport Academy. In the gap now, Peter, 5.3 seconds back to Rob Tyson and Ben Thames. And before Vincenzo rocked up, G-Drive were the fastest cars in the world. They were almost breaking the sound barrier, but Vincenzo Amico, I'm not quite sure what he's brought, whether it's a few extra horsepower or something else, but he's rapid, isn't he? Oh,
massively so. Yes, he's really we should get him up to the up to the pro level, because he's been by far the standout driver. And the thing is, he can just do it so consistently as well. We hardly ever see him make a mistake, and we almost forget sometimes that he's in the race because there's so much going on further back. But if you're up there and you're not, if you're up there and you're just clicking out the laps, often you don't get as much TV time. Strangely, that means that's when you know you're doing a good job as a racing driver here in the sim. But now only 3 BMWs at the top, of course, having lost one of their own in Sims, Anthony Larson, of course, having that mistake, and that's allowed Anton Dupin to get up into the top 4. So we've got 3 manufacturers in the top 5, so that's a good sign.
It is indeed, just showing how competitive the field is. Here is Sandro Ballesteros, turning in a little too early for the blind right-hander. Clips the grass, I think clipped a bit of curb as well. You saw the left-hand side of his Ford GT fly into the air, but continues on, grabs the brakes a little bit to get rid of a slowdown presumably, but continues on with no dangers. Rob Tyson now still with his teammate within a couple of seconds. Ben Thanes, there he is in the second of the G-Drive BMWs, still continuing on quite happily. Closest cars on circuit are these two, not anymore though, because John McConville has now got back past Marius Janka. We saw the position change a few laps ago the other way around. Let's see what happened to Marius. Does he just run slightly wide? Oh, he goes very, very wide. Kept it out of the grass though, and John McConville carrying the extra momentum. Continues back to the battle. Oh, there is John McConville with Marius Janka tucked underneath the rear wing. Jinx out to the left on the run up towards the chicane. Will he get the move done there? I think there's a slight overlap, but the slight right-hander might put John McConville in front. He had a slight issue here a few laps ago. Sorry, that was Stuart Musselwhite, but John McConville now having to defend very hard from Marius Janka around the outside. Great move. Managed to carry the momentum, like I say, all the way around the outside. Let's have another look back at that, Peter.
Yeah, that was a good move there from Marius Janka. And, you know, John McConville gave him the room and just saw he was coming around the outside and just decided just to not to cause the collision. So well done from all concerned there. So Matthias Sufi holding up the honour for Maranello with Cami Sturch in the Ford, behind her in 6th. Just looking at the in-race chat on our YouTube stream, Jack, which but if you're watching on YouTube, please feel free to send us a message on there. We will love to give you a shout out. Pete Plastow said we need more Ferraris in this series, and I agree. Well, if he would like to come and join the series, he can do, can't he? He can come in a Ferrari and come and have a race.
He can indeed. He's also in one of the other Simracersworld streams and championship we've got. He's in the Simracer Coin GT3 World Series. Also in a Ferrari is P. I think you cover that with Hassa, don't you, Peter? And he drives that beautiful virtual racing compound machine. And I'm not sure what it is with these Ferraris, but the matte black, it just suits them so well. And Matthias, if you're showing it off perfectly. And when you say he's holding up the honour for Maranello, I think when we looked at him, he was holding up half the field, because there was Cami Sturge, Sam Baxter, Bram van Oetveen, Anthony Larson, Giuseppe Nazzo, and I think Marius Janka was trying to get up in on the mix as well. But that last lap, he was clearly listening to me, because he's just pulled out a massive gap to everybody else. Cami Sturge, I think, stayed with him because of the tow, but Matthias Sufi, he's really on it at the moment, isn't he?
He is, yeah. He's under a lot of pressure from Cami with her Team Fordzilla, which is an excellent looking car, that the Ford GT, and I believe that Cami actually is a racing artist. She does commissions for different kind of motor racing themes and stuff, cars, drivers, whatever you want. She will paint it up for you, and I can't remember what her website is, but I will find out.
Yeah, I've got to say, I've seen some of her amazing work as well. Very clever illustrations, like you say, with cars, drivers, driver helmets, anything like that. I think even there's a couple of race circuits in there as well. But some brilliant work by Cami, but that'll be the last thing on our mind here. I think the main focus for her is getting past Matthias Sufi ahead. Up the road a little bit though is this battle. Steady Eddie Anton, he's really got up there in his Flemish Simsports 4 GT, this time proving that he does have the pace to be up at the pointy end. Currently in 4th position, gained 2 positions from where he started, being chased down by Ronald Munzo, the highest placed Porsche for Race Masters Esports. Somebody I want to keep an eye on though is this man here. He's lost 8 positions. We saw the spin at the start, but Anthony Larson from Ronin Simsport Academy, he's worked his way right the way from the bottom end of the field up to the mid-pack, currently in P10, chasing down Bram van Oetveen. There he is for Dynamics Racing. He's chasing down the Porsche up the road of Sam Baxter, and then we get back to this battle. So lots of little dynamics that we've got to keep an eye on throughout the race, but at the end of the day, they all lead to the same result.
Indeed, yes, they do. And one thing we should make our viewers aware of is the potential pit stop strategies. Now, normally these cars with the full fuel cell They can run for just under an hour, but they have a limited fuel cell here, which limits them to somewhere between 35 and 40 minutes. So they have to make 2 compulsory pit stops over the 90-minute race. So right now, the pit window is open. So if you wanted to come in now, you could and easily make it to the end of the race with the 2 mandatory pit stops. So at the moment, it'll be interesting to see who decides to do that. But to be honest, if you've got clean air and your car's on low fuel, it's a good time to make hay while the sun shines, I suppose. Or in the case of Cami Sturts here in the blue Ford behind this orange and black Ferrari of Matthias Sufi, she's got a great opportunity as well, provided she doesn't feel like she's being held up by Matteo. She can use Matteo's Ferrari as a bit of a wind block and save some fuel and try and also save some tyre, because now to make these tyres last 90 minutes is tricky. The tyres are absolutely on the threads by the end of 90 minutes, particularly here at Road Atlanta, where often the track temperatures are remarkably high, which really punishes the tyre. Interestingly, today they're not. 20 degrees centigrade track temperature, that's pretty much perfect.
It is indeed, and I think it's just because we're going into the day instead of going into the searing afternoon as we usually are in this series. We're going into the day at the moment, 9:15 in the morning. Like you say, 20-degree track temperature, but as we are going into the day, it means we're going into the heat as well, Peter. So you could still be correct with the tyre management throughout the race. I think during the day you can just about get away with double stinting your tyres, so 1 hour 30 shouldn't be any major issue for the drivers. But we have heard that when you're battling so closely for 90 minutes, it can very, very quickly wear through your tyres. As we're now on lap 20, the lead is still going quicker. There is Vincenzo Amico. He's just set a purple sector 1 just into the 10 seconds, and it means he's getting quicker and quicker and quicker the further into the race we go. And if he decides he's got enough of a gap going into the final stint, he might go, yeah, you know what, let's grab a set of tyres while I'm in there for my fuel, because he's got his lead gap up to 5 seconds now, so he's slowly coming out little by little, and it would be quite interesting to see whether Vincenzo decides to put a fresh set of boots on that BMW. I doubt it, though. He will be going for all-out points. But if this is going to continue on the way it is, touch wood, it could possibly be another win for Vincenzo, which means now every single race in the GT EVO series that he's entered, he's won, hasn't he, Peter?
Yeah, and he's won by a postcode as well. He's but last time around, interestingly, Ben Thanes set his fastest lap of the race, which is only 11 thousandths of a second off Vincenzo's best. So Ben Thanes on a bit of a tear. But yeah, just Vincenzo's doing well what we've seen him do a couple of times now. He's just that sort of tenth or two ahead all the time. He'll never really drop time. He's just clicking out those laps so consistently. And that's very, very hard to contend with. The only thing that you could really think for the G-Drive guys, I mean, they do have pretty comparable pace, but just that 1 or 2% behind. The only thing you can think about for them is some sort of strategical play where, rather than both coming in at the same time, try to split the strategy a little bit, try something different with Rob Tyson and Ben Thanes, split them up and try and throw some darts at the board and see if anything sticks.
Well, I'm sure that is what some of the drivers are thinking, deciding what to do with their strategy as it can, as we've seen so far, win or lose you the race in this series. This is Bradley Brocky, still yet to pit, with Steve Cooley just behind. Both of these drivers need to go into the pits once again. But there is Steve Cooley diving to the outside on the run up to turn 6. We've seen it work already. Looks for the cutback sideways through turn 6 is Bradley Brocky. Still on the inside, just about locks up the brake in pure desperation to get the car slowed down. He will have the draft assistance. Whether it will make a massive difference in the time he has, I don't know. The gap has come out to around about 9/10 of a second, almost a second now. So even in draft, Bradley Brocky's is pulling away. So a very, very quick 4GT is that E-Team Brit car. The closest cars we've got on circuit are still these two, Anton Dupin and Ronald Moons. They've opened up a little bit, and this has come around all of a sudden, Peter, because normally it's the midpoint in the race, sort of 1 hour in actually, we slowly start to run out of battles. But at the moment we've only got two cars within a second of each other, so I'm hoping with at least 2 pit stops still to go for some of the drivers, we may end up with some action playing a part.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, I think a lot of the drivers, you're thinking it's a long race. If you can get to the end of the 90 minutes without making a major mistake, you'll be on for a very strong result. We've seen so many times in the series where just that slight, very difficult to get through the race without making that error. And if you can avoid them, you will gain places for sure. But Anton Dupin, this is definitely more of a return to form for the Belgian in the Flemish Sim Sports Ford GT. They're being chased down by Ronald Moons in the Porsche 911 RSR. So, yeah, Ronald, we know how exciting he can be, and he doesn't. He's certainly not shy in having a good go at it. So, we'll see how he gets on in 5th position right now. I wonder when we're going to see the first pit stops. They can't be far away at all. They were expecting a maximum stint length of 40 minutes. So we're getting towards that now. So it'll be interesting to see if anyone takes it. But I have to say, I do love this Road Atlanta facility. It's been given a lot of improvements in the late 90s to bring it up to standards by a guy called Dr. Don Penoz, who sadly passed away 2 years ago, but really did an awful lot for American sports car racing, created the Petite Le Mans race, and also created the American Le Mans series. That was his baby. But he made his money, and would you believe this, Jack? He was a chain smoker, but he made his money by inventing the nicotine patch.
Well, I've got to say, however you make your money, some ways it's better than others, I'm sure. But anything to get motor racing, I guess. And did he happen to own the car manufacturer, Panos or Panos, however you pronounce it? They used to do some very good-looking race cars.
They did, yes. That was his son Danny, who run that, and they made they had a very small, limited run production of a road car which was called the Esperante, I think, which was on very early editions of Gran Turismo. And actually, a Scotsman used to race for. In fact, 2 Scotsmen raced for Penoz. There was Marino Franchitti drove for them with Brian Sellers, but also a guy called Robin Liddell raced alongside a bit of a BMW factory legend, Bill Oberlin, who won the Petite Le Mans last year in the GTD class.
Well, the more you know, Peter, as always, a wealth of knowledge, and it would seem weird if we didn't have any. So thank you very much for your insider knowledge there on Paynos, and I guess every day is a school day. But back to the action. Ronald Moons still chasing down Anton Dupin. There is Sam Baxter within a second of Matthias Sufi. Just about those two getting closer and further away together as the laps tick by. There is Matthias Sufi diving into the pit lane for the first time. One of the first drivers in the top 15 to dive into the pit lane. We have had Marius Janka already in the pit lane once in his BMW, so he might just be able to get to the end of the race with one more stop. I think that's Vincenzo Amico behind. It is indeed. Vincenzo will be loving this. He'll be lapping it up. So he's in the draft assistance of Marius Janka, so he will be saving at the tiniest bit of fuel but gaining all that extra speed down the straight. Jumps out towards the left hand side of the circuit, which will become the inside of the chicane. Later on the brakes, pulls in front very last minute but gets it slowed down before the chicane at the end of the straight. Also had Kimber Haight dive into the pit lane this time by, and there goes our leader Vincenzo Amico into the pit lane. So position made momentarily on the road for Vincenzo, but gives it up as he dives into the pit lane for the first time. Rob Tyson has followed him in, so has Ben Thanes. Anton Dupin still with Ronald Moons very close behind, so I think maybe a slightly worse run coming out of turn 7 onto the straight might have dropped Anton Dupin back into the into touching distance of Ronald Moons, and I think that might just put Anton Dupin in the lead, yes, because Vincenzo Amico isn't moving as of yet. So Anton Dupin now in the lead on the road. Just about, though, there is Ronald Moons. Who's that leaving the pit lane? That's his Flemish Sim Sports teammate of Kimber Haight, so he's trying to get in on the mix as well. And for now, only 12 cars still on the lead lap. We had a small grid to start off with. We've had a few retirements, and now we've already got the leaders lapping at the cars with the strategy. It's quite an odd race, this one, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll shake up. It'll shake up over the course of the race. We've still got an hour to go, so plenty to to play out here at Road Atlanta. But I tell you what, Jack, I almost had to adjust my screen there, watching those two BMWs coming down the back straight with Vincenzo Amico flashing his lights. I'll be honest, watching a BMW following another one very closely, flashing the lights and then undertaking, I thought I was watching an action replay of the M6 motorway at 5 o'clock on a Friday night.
Yeah, very much did look like that for the BMW drivers as they go. But Vincenzo Amico, he may be a BMW driver, but he's a very, very quick one at the moment. In the lead overall, P3 on the road, but once all is said and done, he should still retain his lead margin. Anton Di Pano and Ronald Moons now diving into the pit lane, nose to tail. As always, John McConville still yet to pit, currently in P4, gained 10 positions, but he will lose a fair few of those as he dives into the pit lane. Obviously, it will have to be within the coming laps. Hopefully, it's this lap. We don't like to see John run out of fuel. There we go, peels off towards the right-hand side of the road. Vincenzo Amico already passed, stand in front, crosses the line now to go on to lap 27. Rob Tyson is there in the background, still being hounded by his teammate Ben Thanes. Those two are much, much closer, Peter, than I remember. Almost within a second, that was Ben Thanes.
Yeah, it's just interesting how that's they're just sort of come together slightly in the pit stop cycle. That's often when you see big gains and losses following the pit stop, and that can often come down to how long the driver has got to sit in the pit lane waiting on their car filling up with fuel as well. I always find that annoying when we got one of the Porsches spinning round. Is it Bram Van Oitven getting loose, and very loose indeed, coming out of turn 12. That's not what you want to do. So let's have a look at what happened. Now, does he get wide? Yes. Runs onto the grass and whiff, round he goes. So yeah, slick Michelin tyre and grass do not mix very well, as you can see. But Brand did pretty well, actually, to gather that one up without too much. And also keep it out the wall, because there's walls waiting there to end your race. So no, not good at all there. I just realised something, Jack. This is actually the 50th anniversary of the first ever race here at Road Atlanta, which was a Can-Am race, which the circuit was built in a bit of a hurry, cutting out through the red Georgia clay, which it was built upon, and won by, well, surprise, surprise, by a Porsche 908, driven by a certain Tony Dean.
Wow, all that time ago, you wouldn't think of it. Obviously, Peter, you were around way back in them olden days, so you'd know more about it than I do. But Steve Cooley continuing on, still defending from one of the running Simsport cars, whether that's for position or not. That's the number 87, so I don't think it is. Let's have a look on the timing screen. Now, there is Steve Cooley in the number 87. He is trying to get past Bradley Brockies in the E-Team Brit 105 GT. You can see now P2 and 3 trying to get through both the G-Drive cars. There's Rob Tyson. Now within a second, Ben Thanes, 0.8 of a second behind his teammate, and that will be within draft assistance just about. His teammate will be picking up even more of a draft, the double draft from the 4GT and the BMW in front, so you can see that gap has extended a little bit more. Steve Cooley still defending, or still trying to get past Bradley Brockies, but Bradley gets the better run of the two coming out of the chicane, and that has put a little bit of daylight between the two. And now Steve Cooley has got to make way for the G-Drive cars, gets Rob Tyson by. There goes Ben Thanes on the start-finish straight, but now that means Bradley Brockies has got to let them by as well, and Steve Cooley will have to draft assistance through Sector 1, although it might not make much of a difference if Bradley Brockies gets past now. No, he doesn't, just stops in front of Ben Thanes. Very much a one-way affair through here. Steve Cooley still following on. There is Ben Thanes looking this way and that, trying to get past Bradley Brockies, but look how close Steve Cooley is now, and he's tucked underneath the rear wing of Ben Thanes, and he might even get the position made here. It just so shows how traffic can play into your hands, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's critical for the strategy. That was Ben Thanes was stuck there for quite a while behind Bradley Brockies. Just noticed at the front, one of the many blue chip sponsors on that E-Team Brit car, the front of it says crouched recovery. Is that whenever you've got a problem underneath your car?
I don't know if you've got better eyes than I do, because I can't see that on my screen, but evidently you can. And the E-Team Brit cars, they've got a good taste in sponsors, haven't they? Because we've noticed a fair few of their sponsors. They're quite to your liking, aren't they?
Oh yeah, we've got Karcher pressure washers, so you can keep your car clean. There's Texaco for the fuel. and most importantly, Kenwood, so you can get yourself a banging stereo as well to attach to the parcel shelf of your Vauxhall Corsa.
There you go.
Or
Also.
Ford Fiesta, as I should say, since it's...
There you go, all sorted, so you can keep your car clean, you can fuel it, and you can listen to your tunes as you're tearing around the road at Atlanta circuit. But the E-Team Brit car very busy with a rearview mirror full of Ronin Simsport Academy BMW. Steve Cooley still on the coattails of Bradley Brocky's. Kimber Haight now under pressure from one of the other Ronin Simsport Academies, so it's Ford versus BMW night this evening. Anthony Larson on his recovery drive trying to get back past Kimber Haight, and I think he's had a few little incidences, Kimber Haight, this being one of them. This will what will have dropped him into the clutches of Anthony Larson. All very deep on the brakes. He's not going to get that slowed down before the grass. Does he keep it out the wall? Very sideways moment. I think he does.
He kept it.
Just about. Wow.
That's like when when you hit ice in the winter, or you drive in the snow and you're just like stop. Oh, speaking of stop, that's Larson. That's Larson in the Ronin Simsport Academy is tangled with Bradley Brocky's trying to put a lap on him, and just a pretty sloppy one there, Jack. He's look how steep that is, like coming down a water slide there at the Road Atlanta, coming into turn 10A, 10B. He's not going to make the corner. Look, he's going straight on. He's locked up, and he just plows into the side of Bradley Brocky's. Nothing Bradley Brocky's could have done about that. Just a lock up from Larson, and both of them pay the price.
Yeah, not what we like to see. I think that was actually Steve Cooley when those two were battling. Yeah. So
my apologies. Sorry, it's my apologies.
Yeah. So Steve,
same paint scheme.
Yeah. Very, very similar paint schemes. Obviously, with them both being teammates. But Steve Cooley now carrying damage aboard his BMW, like you say, with that inside lockup. Bradley Brocky's up the road there with Hendrik de Grave. No, I think that's actually Anton Dupin trying to work his way past the easy. He got a very busy job first getting past the Simtech racing car of Scotty Angelo, and now trying to get past Bradley Brocky's. There's Giuseppe Nazzo. Porsche still against Porsche, chasing down Bram van Uitven for Dynamics Racing. There's Kimber Haight trying to chase back Anthony Larson. I think we had a slight incident for our leader Peter.
Aha. He is human. Let's see what happened to Vincenzo Amico. Oh, you don't want to go off there much. That could have been, and as you can see there, viewers, there is walls everywhere, and right on the edge of the pit straight here at Road Atlanta is almost like a street circuit. So the walls are just so close in. That could have been race over. Oh, as we say, Hendrik de Grave is in the grass in his Ford GT. But gets away with it. You can get away with it there, thankfully. But yeah, that could have been a lot more serious than it looked for Vincenzo Amico. That would have grabbed his attention.
Yeah, that will have been a very, very focusing moment for Vincenzo Amico. But still hasn't hurt his lead at all. 8 seconds to the good now is Vincenzo and Ronin Simsport Academy. Rob Tyson now 2.6 seconds ahead of Ben Thanes, obviously with him getting held up by the traffic just a few laps ago. I think we've only got now 12 cars on the lead lap. So Vincenzo Amico leads Rob Tyson in second. Ben Thanes there in third. Anton Dupin in fourth. Sam Baxter, the first of the bronze-rated drivers. 2 great drives so far from Sam Baxter, and he's keeping up his good results so far. Currently in P5, one of the only drivers not to lose a position. Himself and Vincenzo, the only drivers in the top 5 to retain their starting position. Matthias Sufi in 6th, Marius Janka in 7th, Bram van Uitven in 8th, Giuseppe Nazzo 2nd in class, and P9 overall. That was a very, very weird optical illusion there. Giuseppe Nazzo's Porsche looked much bigger than Bram van Uitven's ahead. There is John McConville, 3rd in class, 10th overall. Ronald Moons in 11th and Anthony Larson in 12th. So Ronin Simsport Academy at the front of lap 32, and Ronin Simsport Academy at the end of lap 32. But how long that's going to last, I don't know, because you can see how close Vincenzo Amico is. There he is trying to put a lap on his teammate. But Ronin Simsport Academy, they've spread themselves quite well through this field, because they've got one at the front, one in P9 and one in P12.
They're covering all the bases. Yeah, and they've got, of course, the 2 leading cars, BMW M8s and Giuseppe Nazzo here, the Italian, in the wonderful Porsche 911 RSR 17. powered by, very typically Porsche, 4-litre flat 6 engine and the most amazing soundtrack. Completely different from the car that replaced it back at Silverstone in the World Endurance Championship last September. And all they did, they've not had, I actually thought it was turbocharged because it sounds so different, but it's actually not. It's just been bored out to 4.2 litres and the exhausts put at the side, and apparently the drivers say that it is absolutely, I mean, this is not a quiet car, the RSR 17, but the new one, the RSR 19, apparently is absolutely deafening for the drivers.
Well, I've got to say, I can imagine so. They've decided to deafen most of the crowd, and they've gone, right, okay, they've had their bit, so they're starting to deafen the drivers now at Porsche. A very, very loud car, but who's going to complain when you've got a soundtrack like that in the beautiful 911 RSRs? And once again, Peter, the cars have started to spread out. I think the smallest gap, believe it or not, is between the two G-Drive cars, 2.8 seconds.
It has, yeah. This is just that kind of lull in proceedings at the moment. We're sitting about half race distance, so just to the point where the guys are just trying to keep in a rhythm and just trying not to make mistakes. Hit your marks, brake, turn in, back on the gas. One of the best descriptions I've ever heard about, endurance racing and keeping your concentration was from Darren Turner, who of course is driven as an Aston Martin factory driver for many years and actually developed and raced the gorgeous Aston Martin DBR9 with, well, you talk about four-wheeled musical instruments, that car with its 6-litre V12, oh my goodness, what a car. But anyway, Darren said, he says at Le Mans, or anywhere really, he says it's always just about dot to dot. He says you've got a dot where your braking point is, you've got a dot where your turn in, your apex and your exit, and you just focus on those one after the other and just don't let your mind wander, just focus on the next dot. And that works for him. And well, given his incredible record in sports car racing, who could argue with him? Interesting though, that new Porsche, the RSR 19, it was battling for all 24 hours of the Rolex 24 Hour at Daytona this year, and with the eventually race-winning BMW M8 of Jesse Krohn, John Edwards, Augusto Farfus, and V8 supercar driver Chaz Moster. And honestly, the BMW sound like an EV in comparison. You could barely hear it because it just sort of swooped by, but then you'd have the two kind of booming Porsches going by. But the BMW is actually a surprisingly quiet car, even though it's a twin-turbo V8, but it's quieter than you would think for such a race car.
And we know the noise makes the car go so much quicker, as well as delivery. And one of the cars slowly picking up the pace is this one here, the Flemish Simsports 4 GT, number 5, Kimber Haight, currently in 4th position. Not the best start, lost 2 positions from where he started, but he's working his way up through the order slowly but surely, currently making inroads on Cammy Sturge. The gap between those two is 7 seconds, but keeps on fluctuating little by little, but it is coming down. And I think as we've got a bit of time in proceedings, what we can do is we can go for an immersion lap on one of the BMW M8s. We're going to pick Marius Janke for the Manetti car. We'll be back with you in just a few moments. No, we won't. That was an incident there for Cammy Sturge and second place driver Rob Tyson. Let's see what happened. I don't think we'll be able to find it straight off the bat. So here we go. This is going through the downhill section. You can see Rob Tyson slowly gaining on Cammy Sturge, reeling her in, going to put a lap on the Ford Zilla car. So then on the run out of turn 5 and runs to turn 6 and 7. Getting closer, much more confident on the brakes is Rob Tyson. There's Cammy Sturge, and just doesn't get it slowed down in time. A little kiss for her troubles, and continues on. But Rob Tyson getting slightly argy-bargy on his way up through the order, but what can you expect? He's left his teammate behind 13 seconds, and that to me, that sings an incident for one or the other. And there we go. I think we found it, Peter. Tell us what you see.
Okay, so coming down the S's, just hopped over the curb. Big hard into the wall there for Ben Thanes. That's very unusual. Yeah, if you get that coming over, this is blind crash. You can't see a thing here. You just have to almost guess. There's virtually no reference point there. You just kind of have to get the muscle memory of where you turn in. But yeah, just misjudged it, hopped over the curbs, and even the BMW, which is renowned for its stability, well, even couldn't hang on to it, and straight into the wall. Thankfully, the tyre wall rather than the concrete wall. So actually, that car looks in remarkably good nick, considering it's had a trip to the tyre wall.
It does indeed. Definitely trouble shrugged off that incident. But now we're going to get to our immersion lap. We're going to ride on board with our leader Vincenzo Amico. We'll be back with you in just a few minutes. So that was an on-board lap with our leader Vincenzo Amico, and going through that final corner you could see some tyre tracks off the road. I think it could have been Scotty Angelo. It was indeed. He was already off the road at that point. I think if we go here we might be able to see the first of his off track. So this is coming through the final chicane underneath the Suzuki bridge, touches the grass, and he's never going to slow that down the hill. You can see everything's locked up, grabs the track a little bit, which I think helps him get it slowed down, grazes the wall, no, just about misses it. But we've had an incident for Ben Thanes. Let's see what happened here. This is third place driver up towards turn 7, overtakes the car on turn in, locks the brakes and minimises any effects of that. Let's have another look. We will ride on board and we'll have a listen to this incident. Let's see what happened. Does he change down too early? Yeah, you can hear it. He changes down twice, and I think that just spools up the rear a little too much. And that's Ben rotating the car through 90 degrees, being the right way as well, with that being a 90-degree right-hander. Doesn't lose too much, but that time lost will hurt him all the way down this long straight. So he'll be a fair few kilometres an hour slower. This time nails the right-hander onto the straight and back up to his usual standards. But now 18 seconds is the gap to his teammate Rob Tyson. There you go, going through the final corner already is the G-Drive car, and then 12 seconds up the road is our leader Vincenzo Amico, riding on board with him a few laps ago. A great controlled lap from himself. Sam Baxter still there in 5th position, looking very comfortable as well, Peter, because Anton Dupin only 5 seconds up the road, and we know what Anton's like. He's very quick towards the start and might slowly drop off as the race wears on. But Sam Baxter, he's only getting quicker. You can see he's lapping very quickly, very consistently, only half a second off his fastest lap pretty much every time he breaks the timing beam. So Sam Baxter, he's keeping up his good results, isn't he? So Sam Baxter, like I said, keeping up his good results. Ben Thanes there in second. I'm going to have another look back at that incident though, just to see what happened. Let's have a listen as well. Yeah, you can hear the double change down from himself, and we've seen the BMW fall foul of that on multiple occasions. I think we saw Stuart Musselwhite earlier on, and then I think it was, who was it that got caught out with that just a little earlier on? I think it was Anthony Larson for running SimSport Academy, and now P2, and it can happen to the best of us, like you said, Peter, a few laps ago, and it's happened once again. That's 3 times within the first hour. We've seen that incident pretty much copy and paste to every different car.
Yeah, definitely. It's that's just the fickle nature of Road Atlanta. Can you imagine trying to do the 10-hour race here? Okay, you've got drivers to share the load with, but yeah, it's a long old day. And of course, that is next weekend. Petit Le Mans at Road Atlanta, 10-hour race, and it's going to be an absolute thriller. It's been a really good IMSA season this year with the new Corvette C8R, which of course we now have on iRacing, which was quite a surprise. And it's had a dominant season. 7 starts in IMSA for the Corvette and 5 wins, 3 of which were 1-2 finishes. So it's had a pretty good launch, has the C8R.
You're really has, and it's definitely the fan favourite at the moment because Peter, you're quite fond of that Corvette. I think I've just grabbed a couple of ideas from you throughout, because it's not almost like every sentence that you mention the C8, and I think for me this Porsche has got to be my favourite GTE, and I think Sam Bentham's got something to say on it as well. He put in the chat a few minutes ago, unpopular opinion, the Porsche sounds like garbage. Yeah, I think that's going to be a very unpopular.
No one's perfect.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a very unpopular opinion, Sam. But you have almost come back saying the Ford much better. I think the Ford.
The Ford sounds
good.
slightly flatulent.
Yeah, I think it sounds like it's struggling to put out the noise.
It
but
sounds like you've had too much broccoli for dinner.
Like you said, each to your own. The Porsche, definitely not the fan favourite. I think, like you say, the Corvette C8, and then probably the Porsche, and the BMW is definitely up there with its competitive nature. But speaking of competitive nature, Matthias Sufi's found some of that because he's up into P6.
Yeah, the Ferrari is a lovely car. I have to say, I really like the Ferrari too, because it's the car that the Iron Dames use, who ran at Le Mans this year, the number 85, Manuela Gostner, Michelle Gatting, and Rahel Fry, who I've had the immense privilege of interviewing for my podcast, and she was absolutely charming, and one of the best female drivers in the world, and they had a good clean run this year in a very competitive GTE AM class. So I carried the Iron Dames Hublot livery on my 488 GTE here in the sim.
Brilliant stuff. I've got to say, they make some very good liveries over there. You could always instantly recognisable is the Iron Dames livery, as well with one of my new favourites, the Iron Lynx livery. It was on the Porsche for the 24 Hours of Nürburgring that they ran, but also on their Audi R8. I think that is a beautiful livery. And speaking of liveries, we haven't done it for a while. Today's livery for the day for me is going to be Sam Baxter. That's going to make Matt Dorrington very happy with Midas Simulation plastered over that Fury Simsport car. But for me, I think that's going to be my livery of the day. Any preference, Peter?
You put me on the spot now. Yeah. And the one thing that I'm disappointed with, nobody's done a throwback livery. I do love a throwback paint scheme. Of course, we've seen a lot of them here at Road Atlanta for Petite Le Mans. My favourite a couple of years ago was when Porsche, for the 20th anniversary of Petite Le Mans, they did the Mobile 1 livery that we saw on the Porsche GT1 that Alan McNish won Le Mans with, and that is very cool. But today, I wonder. I have to say, I do love the E-Team Brit cars. They look really good. And I tell you what, if you can have Kenwood as a sponsor, I mean, free 6x9 speakers for your parcel shelf, that's pretty good. They've got a lot of sponsors. They also, I tell you what, you'll love this, Jack. They're sponsored by a company called Cinetic, who are the title sponsor of the TAS BMW team in the British Superbike Championship. And that makes me very happy indeed that there's a nice motorcycle racing link.
Well, you know, I don't like motorcycle racing because 4 wheels is better than 2. You can't fall off a car, and I've got to say,
I've seen it done.
Well, yeah, so have I. But when you're driving a car, you tend not to fall off it, as is commonly seen on motorbikes. I'm still trying to decide whether it's bravery or stupidity. I'm sure it's a bit of both on those crazy quick super bikes. Obviously, like you said, Peter, you know more about it than I do, and we've still got a bit of break in the running. I tell a lie actually, because we've got John McConville working his way up past Anthony Larson and Giuseppe Nazzo. I think he might have had a slight off. He has indeed. He's had multiple. I think this is coming down the back straight. Now this is turn 1, so this was starting out on his incidents. Misses the apex, runs slightly wide, does a good job to keep it out the wall. The cone thankfully escapes the underside of the car. He had another incident, I think, going into the closing stages of the lap. Now this is turns 6 and 7. Does he run slightly wide? We've seen it before. Lock up the brake, maybe hits the curb. Car goes skywards and grabs the brake. Somehow manages to get it back on the tarmac and get it back going again. So great driving from Giuseppe Nazzo, and continues on nonetheless. But back to motorbikes, Peter. You were at Knockhill just, I think, what was it, a few weeks ago, or maybe last weekend, that sat there commentating on some bikes.
Yes, I've been there twice actually. About 2.5 weeks ago, we had the Jock Taylor Memorial Trophy at Knockhill, which is for sidecars actually. The Jock Taylor, the 1980 World Sidecar Champion, one of Scotland's real sporting legends. You see Anthony Larson drafting up by John McConville. This is a good battle going on here. Anthony Larson side by side. Is he going to draft? Get the side draft. He's got the inside line. Yeah, and gets it done. Good move there from Larson. Yeah, so I was there for that, and the Scottish Motorcycle Championship for solo motorcycles was there as well, which was good fun. And then just a couple of days ago on Sunday, we had another round of the Scottish Motorcycle Championship, but also a group from Earnshaw's Motorcycles in Huddersfield, who are one of the top motorcycle dealers in the country. They brought up a fleet of classic Honda two-stroke motorbikes, and motorbikes are a big passion of mine, but two-stroke motorbikes just sound incredible, and they smell incredible as well. They actually, four-stroke snobs call them stink wheels. There's nothing nicer than a two-stroke. So that was very cool, a real privilege. And then I'm back for some time attack action in 10 days' time, the Super Lap Scotland, and then the week after some rallycross. So everything going on at Scotland's National Motorsports Centre.
Yeah, very busy couple of weeks by the sounds of it, Peter. And I've got to agree with you. Two-stroke for me on a car, yes. Maybe not on a motorbike, but like you say, I can agree with you there. I'm sure they smell absolutely amazing, and I'm sure they sound even better as well. It's pretty much just a go-kart with two wheels, I'm sure. But we do have a race going on, ladies and gentlemen, if you couldn't tell them. We're now going into the second of the pit window. We saw Mariusz Janka pit very, very early on for his first pit stop. He's coming for his second pit stop with still half an hour or 31 minutes of the race still to go, so he might have to do a little bit of fuel saving to get to the end. Anthony Larson still on his recovery drive is coming to the pit lane this time from P11, and I think we have gotten to the point where has Vincenzo Amico lapped even more people? He has indeed. He's now lapped everybody but the top 8, so Ronald Moon's just up the road. So he will be the next victim, and I'm going to say this is one in the running for me as well, because Ronald Moons, obviously his initials being RM, and Race Masters Esports. I can't decide whether this is one of his teams or it's just luck of the draw. But that car not only that livery not only suits the car, but it also suits him as well.
Are you saying that Ronald Moons' livery is worlds apart?
Pretty much.
Oh, I do make myself laugh.
You make us cry, Peter.
But he is another motorcycle link. He is running the number 69, which of course was the race number of the late great Nicky Hayden, the 2006 MotoGP world champion, who would have cut his teeth in the American Superbike Championship here at Road Atlanta back in the around the turn of the millennium.
I've got to say, your superbike knowledge is, or just general motorbike knowledge is way better than mine. You're barking up the wrong tree there, Peter. But I'm sure if you are in chat and you are a motorbike fan, do let us know and fire some questions over Peter's way, because I'm sure if he knows it, we won't go without it. Vincenzo Amico, our leader, coming into the pit lane very, very early, just as we tick past the 1 hour mark, meaning now Rob Tyson inherits the lead. Ben Thane's coming through the final corner, continuing on as well. Both of those two pitting on lap 25. Vincenzo Amico, I think, pitted a few laps after. He's just started rolling now. Where is Anton Dupin? Followed by Sam Baxter. Those two have got really, really close together, and both of those two still with a pit stop to make. We heard the Porsche coming from a mile off, but this now means that Anton Dupin and Sam Baxter won't feel obliged to let Vincenzo Amico by. Although he's been the leader for 99% of the race, this is, in theory, a battle not just only on for track position, but a battle for position overall, because Sam Baxter and Anton Dupin being 3rd, 4th, and Vincenzo Amico now in 5th. This could play into the hands of Rob Tyson, because he's continued on with a bit of clean air. Vincenzo Amico has either got to battle his way past, pray, or hope and pray that Anton Dupin and Sam Baxter know who he is and know to let him by.
Yeah, I mean, there's even if he was a lap ahead, they wouldn't have any mandate to step aside like you would see in Formula One. But no, I think it's just down to their strategy if they want to be pestered by Vincenzo or not. But he's still got a fair way to actually close up onto the back of them, so we'll see how he does that. And it might be that Vincenzo's got a good enough margin in hand where he can afford to sort of sit here for a few laps and wait until Baxter and Dupin pit. But This depends how much he thinks he's being held back. So we'll see how that plays out over the next few laps. But we've got to be getting towards the pit window for these guys now, and just require a little splash. And if, to be honest, for Anton Dupin and Sam Baxter, if they've got fuel to go, they should run it as dry as they possibly can, and then put in a little splash to get them to the end. And because at the moment they're not being bothered by Vincenzo Amico.
No, there's still a fair gap between themselves and him, but they are, I fear, slowing each other down. These Anton and Sam Baxter, because they're battling away, although not as furiously as I'd expected. Still with Sam Baxter carrying that damage from earlier on. I think it might just be the livery that has got a slight black line going through it, but there is Sam Baxter now diving to the inside later on the brakes. They're going to be too wide going into the first left-hander. Is there an overlap going through the right-hander? There is a bit, and I don't think there was an incident there. I don't think there was any contact with Sam Baxter rotating his car through 90 degrees. Let's have a slow motion look at that, Peter.
I hate to say it. I think this is the dreaded. No, it wasn't. My apologies. No, I think that was just getting a little bit eager on the throttle. Now that's quite unusual for the Porsche to do that. I think maybe. Do you think maybe a bit of netcode, perhaps?
We'll have a.
It's hard to say, but it could. It's very, very tricky.
Yeah, I think there was a tap there. With a bit of
there is a tap, netcode. Yeah, so to explain to our viewers what netcode is, you're thinking, what on earth are they talking about now? They basically, if you can imagine, this software, this simulator that we have here, even to drive along on your own, this software is absolutely extraordinary. Every car is laser scanned, as Rob Tyson's brings his BMW M8 into the pit lane. Every car, every track is laser scanned for the most pinpoint accuracy and dynamics. And also, this entire race is held in real time. So we've got people in Belgium, we've got them in the UK, we've got them in Italy, got them all over the world, and it's all happening in real time. So, and of course, just the speed of light can only go so fast. And, the basically when the internet connection can't keep up, which is in most of the time it can, but it just takes tiny little blips occasionally where basically the simulator has to make a guess on or educated guess on where the cars are. And in the most part, it gets it absolutely spot on. But you do get that sometimes. But you've got to be honest though, you've almost got to leave a margin for that though, Jack. You can't really go door to door because you do have that option of that kind of ghost contact sending you around.
Yeah, like you say, very unfortunate, very hard to judge. As well, I've fallen foul of the occasional netcode incident. Sometimes it's spot on, and you can race door to door or wheel to wheel, depending on what you're driving. But occasionally, like you say, that time they just got slightly unlucky. Commonly referred to as the N word. Nobody likes to say netcode, but John McConville we're looking at the moment, chasing down the recovering Sam Baxter for Fury Simsport. He has been into the pit lane. I think he pitted on the lap that he had that little moment. So currently in 6th position overall. The only person in front of him yet to pit is our current leader on the road, Anton Dupin, trapped behind his teammate at the moment at Flemish Simsports. That will be not Hendrik de Grave. It will be Kimber Hay. There we go. So letting the leaders and his teammate by is Anton Dupin. Who was that? That was Hendrik de Grave. But there is Vincenzo Amico just behind, tucked underneath the rear wing of Anton Dupin, so still in the lead, 10 seconds ahead of Rob Tyson. So he's losing little bits of ground here and there, but like we mentioned earlier, although you may feel more obliged to let the leader by if you were a lap down, Anton Dupin has to do no such thing. When this is a battle for overall position, and this is, I think, the longest stint we've seen. The only person still out on the road in the top 10 with a pit stop to take is another one of the Fords, Cammy Sturge, and then we go back to another one of the Fords, another Flemish Simsport car of Kimber Hay. So I think this is just proving that the Ford GT is one of the most economical cars we've got on the grid.
Yeah, well, it is powered by a 3.5 litre EcoBoost twin turbocharged V6. Economical being 4.5 miles to the gallon in one of these in one of these racing cars. But yes, the way it delivers its power is interesting. So basically the way that the World Endurance Championship regulations are written, the car will rev beyond 6,500. I think it revs about 7,800. But after 6,500, you're just wasting revs. You're effectively it's just empty revs basically. It's not developing any more power. But you can change up. You can kind of almost feel like you're short shifting rather than the other cars. You've got to absolutely rattle it off the limiter to get every last bit of power out of it. So for the Ford drivers, of course the car's as you can see, it's incredibly slippery as well. So that's bound to have an effect. So I think the Fords are probably just that touch more economical, or you can save fuel in them a little bit more easily as well. I think it's got no fewer than 12 different engine modes as well, where you can turn the power down if you want to as well.
May as well just be an F1 car with the amount of engine modes you've got in that Ford GT. But look at this now, Anton de Pan still under pressure from Vincenzo Amico. We saw on the last lap Tommy Sturge and Kimber Hay dive into the pit lane behind the wheel of their Ford GTs. Anton surely this time peels off into the pit lane. There we go. So Vincenzo Amico back up to where he wants to be, into the lead, but another second lost. Now 9.5 seconds behind is Rob Tyson, so he has gained little by little. 24 seconds the gap back to Ben Thames now after that incident going onto the straight. Just a little 90-degree spin, but another driver caught out with the downshifts in that BMW. The closest cars we've got on circuit at this is this battle here. Anthony Larson from Ronin Simsport Academy glued to the tail end of the Simracersworld Esports number 13 car of John McConville. So Brit versus Brit, but the Ronin Simsport entries today, they're doing an amazing job. I've just noticed how many of them there are, because we always sort of pick up on how many Dynamics cars we've got out on the grid, but sadly 3 of them retired. Martin Decker, Stephen Wolf and Thies van den Berg. Ronin Simsport have decided to steal the spotlight because they've got Vincenzo Amico at the front of the order, Anthony Larson and Giuseppe Nazzo P11 and P12, and then you've got Steve Cooley in P15. So quite a busy old entry for Ronin Simsport, isn't it?
It is indeed, yeah. And they could, once the Corvette comes along, they could have another 2 cars on the track as well. Think about that. That would be cool. That would be very cool indeed. And of course, Corvette have quite an impressive record here with 8 class victories at Petit Le Mans. And actually, a fellow Brit of ours, Jack Oliver Gavin, he will actually, if he wins in class at the Petit Le Mans this year, next weekend, he will become the most successful ever driver at at that particular race. At the moment, he has 5 alongside Dindo Capello, Jörg Bergmeister, and Sasha Masson. But if he wins, he will move ahead of them and be the only guy on 6 wins at the 10-hour classic here at Road Atlanta.
Well, that definitely takes some doing, and like we've been mentioning all evening, it's a very challenging circuit. So to drive a single lap by yourself is something else. To win a race around here, obviously with the help of your teammates and an amazing piece of kit underneath you, is definitely another. But to then be the most winningest driver or the most successful driver around here is really something that is well worth experiencing for the few that are lucky enough to do so. But somebody who's definitely showing off his talent around this Road Atlanta circuit is Vincenzo Amico, because the last time we looked at him, he was 9.5 seconds ahead of Rob Tyson. We look at him again and he's now 10.5 seconds, so going quicker and quicker and quicker. The last lap was a 1 minute 16.06, crosses the line now, breaks the timing beam, and that lap was, whether it was exactly the same, no it wasn't, there you go, so it's just popped up now, a 1 minute 15.790, so back up onto his race pace. Rob Tyson crosses the line this time by, there we go, going on to lap number 56. He's still in the 1 minute 16. So Vincenzo Amico, one of the only drivers to still be in the 115s, and that just shows off how quick he really is, doesn't it?
Yeah, to click off those times just time and time and time again. A circuit of this difficulty is really, really impressive. And as I say, I think Vincenzo, hopefully he'll be getting a tap on the shoulder for the sake of the other drivers. Hopefully he'll be getting a tap on the shoulder and go into the pro class on Wednesday evenings, every second Wednesday here on Simracersworld TV, because he's certainly got the pace to do so. Of course, every alternate Wednesday from the Simracersworld GT Series, we have the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Championship with myself and Chaz Draycott in the commentary box. Do tune in for that same time, 8 o'clock on next Wednesday, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, we are off to Imola next time. So that's going to be tricky in the 911 Cup car.
Yeah, I think we's the right word, Peter, because I think I might be joining you for that one. But who's that on the side of the road? That looks like Ben Thanes has pulled off to the side of the road. Let's see what happened. There he is.
Oh.
Ben Thanes, he's had an incident on lap 55, so only a couple of laps ago. Let's see what happened as he crossed the line, jumps on the brakes. Whether he has an emergency outside of sim racing, I don't know. Still parked still parked on the right hand side of the circuit, well and truly off the racing line. But that looks like either some sort of emergency back rolling once again. All the positions, all the hard work lost, but hopefully all is well on Ben's end, and we might be able to question him a little bit later on in the interview. But yeah, we do hope all is well for the Belgian driver. Continuing on now in P16, and somebody who will be loving this is Steady Eddie Anton. He's had a couple of rotten rounds, but Peter, tonight he's showing us up, isn't he? Right up there in third position, up into the podium places overall, and obviously the podium places in class as well.
Yep, he's done an absolutely fantastic job here. This is back where he belongs. I remember back to Sebring, the very opening round of the season here, and yeah, he was very, 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 very steady there, battling with Billy Fletcher and Rob Tyson. Well, Rob Tyson, he was out front. So the arrival of Vincenzo Amico has been a bit of a rude awakening for Rob Tyson. But yeah, it's a little bit loose there from Larson. Oh, goodness me, I thought he'd lost it there, but tell you what, he did well to hang on to that. I thought he was going sideways there through the S's. And of course, the car goes so light because you kind of crest over the hill there, and then it gets really, 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 really light in its feet, and you just don't quite know if it's going to hang on or not. And when you're on cold tyres, it's even worse. So we're going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, we can't.
Never mind.
So in between two of the events, so sadly we won't be able to grab a look at that moment. But that was very well held, and I'm sure another focusing moment for the Ronin Simsport Academy driver. We've had an incident for Sam Baxter. He's gone off the road. Let's see what happened here. That's not Sam Baxter. That is Sam Baxter. Oh, very, very big moment. Keeps it out the wall. No, hard into the tyre stack, and yet more damage aboard that Porsche. You can see on the left-hand side the floor has crumpled, and it looks like very, very minimal damage. But the floor is just as important, if not more, than the front and rear wing. And obviously that massive diffuser that could affect the grip level of that Porsche. Thankfully, he had the time in hand, still 11 seconds ahead of Matthias Sufi, who is now obviously up into the top 5, with Ben Thanes dropping back towards the bottom end of the order. He is still continuing on. Is Ben Thanes jumping over the curbs for Matthias Sufi? But Sam Baxter, another standout drive from him this evening, and as soon as he entered, we knew he had the pace, but he's really made that Porsche his own. The Porsche obviously getting a lot of criticism at the start of the season with it not being on pace or not being as competitive as we'd expected. But Sam Baxter, he's just showed us all up, and he's gone, yeah, well, you might not think so, but I love it, and I think it's quite quick.
Yeah, just unfortunately, just that little mistake there, backing it into the wall, and yeah, just trying to get a look at the back of that car. If there's much of a it doesn't appear to have taken much too bad damage. It looked like he'd gone in slowly enough. But yeah, he's definitely been one of the most exciting drivers to come into the series, and really a bit of a shame there. He looked like he was going to challenge the podium at the beginning, but just had a little bit of a mistake there as well. So if he can iron out those mistakes, he could be in for podium before the end of the season. As we see Sandro Ballesteros, ooh, you don't want to go off there. Oh goodness me, did he hold on to it? Yes, just about. Did very, very well there to keep that out the wall.
Yeah, he did indeed. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm just going to have to quickly refresh the timing screen, because you can see everybody's been chucked up into the same row. So we'll just give it a quick refresher. There we go. Everybody's back to normal. So Sam Baxter still there in fourth position, leading bronze driver. For some reason it says Matthias Sufi. I've just noticed a little coloured strip next to their position, shows their class. And Matthias Sufi, for some reason, is showing up bronze there, but he's actually a silver driver. I'll just get that changed for you. But Matthias Sufi doing a brilliant job as always, and really showing off his capabilities in that Ferrari. And like you say, the lone Ferrari has got to hold up his end of the bargain for Ferrari, and he's definitely doing that up into P5. And I think this will be not only the best finish for himself, the best finish for Simracersworld Esports, and possibly the best finish for a Ferrari throughout the season.
I think all of the above. Yes, he's done it, and a best finish for a car with a Charles Draycott media sticker on as well. Don't forget that one as well. But yeah, this Ferrari is. It's I tell you what, there's for those that saw the Le Mans 24 Hours this year in the real world, I tell you what, there's plenty of room on board for some sandbags in practice and qualifying as well, and lots of little secret hatches to get rid of it during the race as well.
Yeah, I've got to say that was rather frustrating as we were all watching qualifying, and the Porsche Sport podcast group chat was exploding with different frustrations. But I've got to say, Ferrari have let all the sandbags go this evening for Matteo. He's doing a brilliant job. And speaking of the Porsche Sport podcast, if you missed us talking about it earlier on, it comes out every single Thursday with all your up-to-date Porsche Motorsport news, and it will be on all the podcast providers, whether it be Podbean, Spotify, all of the above, and even more. You can always find it on there. So make sure you do go check it out. And then once you're finished, Peter, you've got a podcast, haven't you?
I do, yes. On the 31st of February last year, I won the award for the most imaginatively named podcast in the UK. It's called the Peter MacKay Motorsport Podcast. Nice and easy to remember. Does what it says on the tin.
There you go. And I'm sure that is on all your usual podcast providers as well. So you will definitely get your motorsport fix. You've had two amazing nights of Simracersworld GT Pro and GT EVO Series, still with 10 minutes of this race to go, and then you've got some podcasts to rattle through this evening. What are we on, episode 9 or episode 10 of the Porsche Sport podcast now? So hours.
I think it's 11.
Episode 11. Wow. As time flies, but lots of content to get through. Go on, Peter.
You wouldn't believe there's over 100 episodes of the Peter MacKay Motorsport podcast, which is a bit crazy really to think of. But I had the immense privilege of interviewing Alan McNish, who is, as you can imagine, a bit of a hero of mine, and to speak to him for over an hour on the show was absolutely, it was just such a joy. And Alan was every bit the superstar, and that was very good. But also, I would urge those to listen to the interview with Werrell Fry. If you've never heard of her, she's a really nice person, and she still works in her family car dealership. It's a Volvo dealership, so it's not Ferraris, but she still works there when she's not racing. She goes to help out in the family garage. And of course, she's been an Audi factory driver for 10 years as well. So do urge you to check that out and hear Werrell's story.
Definitely lots of content to watch this evening, but please do stay with us for the moment, because Bram van Uitven, look at this, he's just made the position on Marius Anger, because Marius went for a bit of a gravelly moment coming out of turn 5, but Bram van Uitven looks to get the better run of the team, possibly even a little bit of a push from Anthony Larson behind. This is a three-way battle, so 3 cars, all for P6. Was there a bit of contact there? I think there was, a bit more than a bit, yes. Bram van Uitven gets launched through the chicane, locks the brakes, just about keeps it pointing in the right direction, grabs the gear. You can see the damage on the tail end of that Porsche, loses out to Ronald Moons as well. Anthony Larson and Marius Janker still trading positions, almost contact between the pair of them there. Let's have a look to see what happened. That was a very busy final chicane, Peter.
Yes. Anthony Larson just got a little bit late on the brakes there, which is so easy to do at turn 10A and 10B, and there's quite a lot of ways to do it. You can either brake really late and try and just hang on, or brake early and try and get an early apex, and that's just a complete misjudgment. And poor old Bram van Uitven, well, that would have he would have felt that one, that's for sure.
Will have indeed. And then let's have a look here. Look how close the two BMWs get. Ooh, even closer there, a little bit of a wobbly moment for Marius Janka, which throws him almost into the side of the Ronin Simsport Academy car of Anthony Larson. But look who has made the most out of this. Ronald Moons up into P8 from P9, and he's still chasing down another position. Marius Janka obviously starting from the tail end of the order, I think even starting from the pit lane, and Anthony Larson on that recovery drive starting in, I think it was P3 or a P2 after that earlier incident. He's done a great job to make up the positions he has, maybe not in the manner we would like to see, but he's slowly started to build that gap up to Marius Janka. It's now extended to over 1 full second, which means Ronald Moons has clearly grabbed the attentions of Marius Janka. So the Manatee car coming under pressure from Race Masters Esports Porsche, but these two can't get too hooked up on each other because of recovering Bram van Uytven, who started ninth, currently in ninth, will be there to make amends for that incident, won't he?
Oh, I'm sure he's really driving pretty angry right now. And that, oof, goodness me, look at that. The back of that Porsche 911 RSR. Well, it's like somebody's fitted a Mansory body kit to it. I don't know if you've ever seen a Mansory body kit before, Jack. It's with somebody you pay a company an awful lot of money to make your car significantly more ugly than it already was, and that looks like it's had a Mansory body kit fitted.
Oh dear, so we're always berating brands here at Simracersworld, but I'm sort of glad I haven't seen one of those now. But Marius Janka, there we go, under pressure, and I think losing the position there to Ronald Moons on the run up to the chicane. He will have the inside though, will Marius Janka. Later on the brakes, Ronald Moons almost a similar incident before, sideways moment for Ronald Moons, somehow gets the moment collected up. I don't know how he managed to do that, maybe changed down the gear too early, snatched a brake, something. But you could see the car jumping from the right hand side of the circuit up towards the apex. Thankfully, did it at quite a good time for him, and very conveniently kept him pointing the right way. We do have a bit of reasoning behind Ben Payne's incident a few laps ago when he pulled off to the right hand side of the road. He had a difficult time with the kids sleeping, so he sadly couldn't focus, and obviously focus is a massive part of motorsport, and even more so around here in these GTE cars. So sadly, Ben Thames has left us this evening, and it does mean he's out of the race. He's in the pit lane at the moment, but I think that is just, he's pulled into the pit lane and he's gone to go put his kids to bed. So sadly, after what was looking to be another podium for the G-Drive number 17 BMW, we won't see him cross the finishing line, which is such a shame. But we've still got these battles going on. Marius Janka lost out to Ronald Moons, trying to keep up with him, but Ronald Moons, he's really on it, and once again it's another great showing for a Porsche.
Yeah, it's a brilliant job here from Ronald Moons. And still Sam Baxter, the leading Porsche, in fourth place, despite his couple of off, but much more consistent for Ronald Moons. We've seen him be quick at a lot of circuits, but particularly at Watkins Glen he was quick, but he just kept getting involved in little incidents, little small mistakes that kind of totted up over the course of the race, but much more steady for Ronald Moons today. Great to see for the man in the 69 Race Masters Porsche.
Yeah, he's done an absolutely brilliant job. Let's give you a quick rundown through the order going into the final 5 minutes. Still Vincenzo Amico in the lead, lapped everybody but the top 5. Rob Tyson still there in second, Anton Dupin now in third, Sam Baxter still in fourth, leading the bronze category. There is Matthias Sufi in fifth, Anthony Larson sixth overall, leading second in the bronze category. There is Ronald Moons chasing down Anthony Larson. There is Marius Janka, who is eighth overall. Bram van Uytven with an extra little bit of damage, just getting lapped by Rob Tyson. He's there in ninth position. John McConville in 10th, and then the rest will play out as we go along. But standout driver for me tonight, obviously the obvious choice is Vincenzo Amico for just doing his absolute usual, but again, it's got to go to Sam Baxter for me personally, Peter, because even with a couple of mistakes that can throw a driver out of his rhythm, but he just grabbed the gears, carried on, and he's in an absolutely amazing finishing position as always.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout. I'm gonna split it up. I'm gonna go for the man who's one place behind him, Matthias Sufi. A brilliant drive from him in the sole Ferrari. So holding up the honour, representing Maranello in the Ferrari 488 GTLM, but also holding up the honour very well with a top 5 finish. And we haven't seen him put a foot wrong for the whole 90 minutes. So he gets my shout for driver of the day.
very, very good choice from yourself, Peter. And like you say, holding up flying the flag high for Ferrari. This battle has suddenly appeared out of nowhere. I've got to say, I haven't really seen this on the cards, but there is Cami Sturge for Team Fordzilla in the number 4 Ford, funnily enough, chasing down Giuseppe Nazzo in the Ronin Simsport Porsche P11 overall. The gap closed up a little bit going through the final sector, but then through the twisty sector 1, I think Giuseppe Nazzo has just got that extra little bit because he's pulled out an extra 2 tenths here. Now on the run up through turn 5 and then towards turn 6 and 7, I think Giuseppe Nazzo is once again that little bit quicker, but the Ford GT, we know it's a very slippery car, like you mentioned, Peter. It might be just a bit quicker on the straight, so an elastic band sort of battle for the moment, but Cami Sturge now within a second once again, and she's done it exactly where she needs to on the most important corner of the circuit. She'll carry all of that time she gained down this long straight. Now within the draft, 7 tenths, it's come down by almost half a second, now within 6 tenths of a second. I think going into the final 2 minutes of the race, Cami Sturge has got it all to play for her.
Yeah, I think she's going to have a go, doesn't she? She just, you can tell she's up for this one, just reeling in Giuseppe Nazzo, 10th by 10th, bit by bit. So as we come round, 2 laps to go, and where will she make a move, I wonder? Oh God, she's pushing! My word, half the car off the circuit there, but she kept her foot in it, good girl, and then up the hill again, and Giuseppe Nazzo's probably looking in his mirror going, oh no, come on, checkered flag, come out.
That will have been an off-track for Cami, but also an off-track for Giuseppe there as he jumped over the right-hand blind corner at the top of the hill before the long snake back down the hill until you get here to turn 5. Very tricky curb on the exit, can throw the car towards the wall, and there's very little you can do about it when all 4s are off the ground. But Cami Sturge still closing up to the tail end of Giuseppe Nazzo. Up the road though, Anthony Larson under pressure from Ronald Moons. These two are close. We will have a look back at that battle between Cami Sturge and Giuseppe Nazzo in a few moments, but Anthony Larson and Ronald Moons are slowing each other down because there is Marius Janka trying to work his way through, getting held up a little bit though by the number 8 of Sandro Ballesteros. Free team bit brag to this battle though. Giuseppe Nazzo and Cami Sturge still glued together. You can see Cami just taking her usual lines, not putting any massive pressure on Giuseppe, not forcing the move just as yet. But as I think they cross the line for the penultimate time, Cami has only got 1 lap to get this move done, and I think this will be the final lap for our leader, Vincenzo Amico, Peter.
Yeah, I think he's going to take the checkered flag here. He's just, I think he's actually just backing out of this a little bit, it seems, just so he doesn't go over the line, so he doesn't have to do an extra lap. Comes down into 10A and B for the final time. It's the apex perfectly, of course, and then under the Suzuki GSXR motorcycle racing bridge to take the lap, the final lap.
Vincenzo Amico crossing the line now, taking the checkered flag, wins round 8 of the Simracersworld GT EVO Series, and as always, an absolutely dominating drive, lapped everybody but the top 5. Matthias Sufi with a brilliant finish in P5. Where is Rob Tyson? There we go, coming round the final corner, sadly not with his teammate in tow, Ben Thane, saying he had a crying 2-year-old next to his rig, so definitely not ideal for him. Anton Dupin driven this race perfectly. He's had a couple of bad rounds, but this is the round where it all mattered. Going into the final few rounds, obviously we go to Daytona next and then Spa for what would have been the final round, but we have had to reorganise Silverstone, obviously, with the iRacing updates, and 14 weeks instead of the usual 13. So Silverstone will be put to the end of the calendar, but Anton Dupin under the bridge for the final time through the final corner, crosses the line to round out your podium, and standout driver for me today, Sam Baxter. He has driven an amazing race, and he will take 4th position overall, first in class for the Fiori Simsport driver. A brilliant job from himself, and that just lives up to the usual amount of action we get here. It's very busy race as always, Peter.
Was indeed, yeah, and I tell you what, we're going to another one of my absolute favourite tracks next time out, Daytona International Speedway. Having been there in the real world, it is a very special place indeed, and these drivers are going to enjoy it. as long as we don't have that horrible new chicane that they've just plastered on for the NASCARs this year. I hope not. Hopefully we'll stick to the IMSA layout, and that'll be fine. But good to get some North American tracks. Some of the tracks on the IMSA schedule are just amazing. One of my favourites, if not the favourite, is VIR, Virginia International Raceway. It'd be good to go there perhaps next season as well. But good that we're going to get to Daytona and here at Road Atlanta as well. It's been good.
It really has been. The American section of the calendar has really held up its end of the bargain. Scotty Angelo is the last of our finishers here to cross the line in P18 for Sim Tech Racing. The American crosses the line now on home turf. Delighted with that, weaving the car from side to side. I think just finishing here is well and truly an achievement, with it being such a challenging track. But 90 minutes of racing, it goes very, very quickly. 70 laps completed by our leader, Vincenzo Amico, and as always, he's led it from the front for pretty much the entire race. The only time he wasn't in the lead was during the strategy or the pit windows of the race, when Anton Dupin had a brief spell at the front end of the order. But Peter, we have the results.
So let's see how they finished then. Vincenzo Amico wins by 14.6 seconds in the end from Rob Tyson. 52 seconds further back from the leader was Anton Dupin in third, getting a very welcome return to the podium. Sam Baxter, winner in the bronze class in the 97 Fury Sim Sport Porsche, the only man, the last man, home on the lead lap. Matteo Sufi, a brilliant drive for him in the sole Ferrari in the field in fifth. Anthony Larson recovered to sixth after an early incident. Ronald Moons, a good drive from him in seventh, followed by Marius Janka and Bram van Ouyten. John McConville was 10th for Simracersworld Esports, followed by Giuseppe Naso, who just managed to keep Cami Sturch at bay. Kim Behate finished 13th with Steve Cooley and Hendrik de Greve in 15th. Bradley Brockes was 16th with his teammate Sandro Ballesteros in 17th. Scotty Angelo was 18th, followed by Ben Thanes, who had, shall we say, issues at home with a screaming 2-year-old. That's certainly one way to put you off your driving. Stuart Musselwhite was 20th, followed by Thijs Berg, Martin Deckens, and Stephen De Wolf, who was 70 laps down, so did not make the start.
Yeah, sadly, a few drivers not getting to the end of the race, but we do have one driver currently in the interview waiting room, so we're going to have to bring him in. And Peter, I'm going to hand off Steady Eddie Anton to you.
Anton Dupin, welcome to the commentary box here on Simracersworld TV. That was much more like it and much more what we've come to expect of you. How did you feel your race went today?
Hi Peter, hi Jack, good evening. Today was something different. I was a bit I was going through a bad period in iRacing the last couple of weeks, just really struggling, and actually the plan was to quit the series, but I decided this evening when driving home from work to race anyway, so just jumped in the server without any practice, so this podium is really, really unexpected.
You found the answer. The James Hunt approach: just hop in the car and get on with it. That's the way to do it. Well, we're delighted you chose to come and join us. It was a really nice and smooth drive, and of course, Road Atlanta is a difficult circuit to not make a mistake every lap. But for 90 minutes, that's must have taken quite some concentration to drive as smoothly as you did.
Yeah. My stints in the Petit Le Mans race last week certainly helped, so I knew the track. It's just getting used to the car again, and I was a bit lucky with the issues of the other guys around me, because I think they had a bit more pace than I had. Don't know what happened to Ben. Ronald had some kind of penalty, I think, in his pits, and then there was a small incident with Sam, which was a shame. I'm not really sure what happened there. Still have to look at the replay, but I apologize if that was my fault.
Well, I can tell you that Ben Thanes, he had his 2-year-old child was really struggling to sleep and was crying beside him, so he actually had to stop to attend to that. We were puzzled as why he'd parked on the front straight, but that was what happened to him. Next time
Okay.
we're off to Daytona International Speedway, a much smoother circuit. Have you got much experience around the high banks of Daytona?
Code, but he has a new
Yeah, a little bit. I did the 24 hours, so yeah, I like the track as well, so yeah, should be okay.
Fantastic stuff. Well, Anton, we're delighted you came to race with us this evening. Before we let you go, who would you like to shout out to on the Simracersworld broadcast?
First of all, you guys, all the sponsors and everybody who organizes the league, especially Seb and Ian, and then all of my team, and also Kim for motivating me to start here today by giving me a beer if I finish on the podium. So cheers to that.
Well, that's the best prize of all. Go and enjoy that beer, Anton, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time at Daytona.
Thank you, guys. See you.
That was Anton Dupin there, eventual P3 finisher, and on the podium in what seems like a long time being away from it. P3, well and truly deserved that, didn't he?
He did indeed, yes, and you know, it just shows you sometimes just a little rest sometimes can make a bit of a difference. Anton was saying, he'd been struggling with iRacing the last couple of weeks. It's been a busy time certainly for competitive action, and wasn't actually going to race tonight, but decided on the car on the way home from work today, decided to give it a go, jumped into the car and just did what Steady Eddie normally does, and got it on the podium.
Yeah, he did a brilliant job. And let's see whether we bring him in mid-conversation. No, we don't. We don't bring Rob Tyson into the commentary box mid-convo.
Yes, you did.
Oh, we did bring him in mid-convo. I'm sure he's listening to somebody else. But Rob, P2 overall, another podium for G-Drive. What is it going to take to stop you? Obviously, Vincenzo has had a good go at that, but you've still got obviously that massive points margin over him with him joining mid-season. What do you think? Is gonna almost put pay to Vincenzo's effort, because he's having a very good go at taking you off the top step, but you're holding your own in second, aren't you?
Yeah, man, Vincenzo is flying, but my mate Ben Thanes is also flying. I don't know what the points are at this moment, but I don't think I'm in front of Ben, though. I think he will win the season.
Yeah, I think that there's going to be conversations about what Vincenzo does, whether he continues on in the EVO Series. But you and Ben, you've been putting on some brilliant shows this season, and obviously Ben sadly getting caught out with his children this evening and having to go to attend to them.
Yeah, that was such a shame, because he and I were driving the same pace, so it could have been an interesting fight at the end.
Yeah, we saw he was closing up, and it was just a bit of traffic, which you negotiated slightly quicker than your teammate. Do you think that traffic plays a massive part around here, with it being quite a skinny circuit in places, and obviously Sector 1 being very one-way? Do you think traffic plays a massive part in your race?
Yeah, first time traffic, I was ahead 2 seconds of Ben, I think, and then I got caught in traffic, and he was at my back. So, and when you have slipstream at the back straight, it's just waiting before he came around, but he didn't. And next time traffic, I had a bit of luck, and so it's just, I think the back markers need to be a little bit more careful with letting people by and being a little bit clearer. But yeah, they did a nice drive. Yeah, they did their best.
Yeah, they definitely did. And speaking of obviously Road Atlanta being one way and quite skinny, what challenges do you think Road Atlanta brought to the season? Quite a unique circuit. Was it similar to the challenges of most sport a few weeks or a month ago almost now?
Well, it's really not my favorite track. Because last 2 or 3 races I drove there, I got caught out. So it's a lot of training, but never get a finish. So it was nice to make a podium here. I was on to something great, because last race I didn't race, so I wanted to get some points in, and I'm looking very forward to the next rounds, because those tracks I really like those tracks more than we drove the last tracks.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing you at Daytona in 2 weeks' time. But before we let you go out of the commentary box, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I would like to thank my team and my teammates for putting in the effort with practice together and helping with setups. So thank you guys.
Brilliant.
And thank you guys for broadcasting this amazing race again.
Thank you very much for the kind words, and once again, a massive well done tonight. And like we said, we'll see you in 2 weeks' time at.
See you in 2 weeks.
That was Rob Tyson there, Peter, and one more man we're going to bring in. I wanted to bring in Ben Thanes, but we've got to bring in Sam Baxter. Did we bring him in mid-conversation? No, for the first time in a while, I think we've brought somebody in who isn't halfway through a sentence. But Sam Baxter, P1 in class and P4 overall. You've got Peter.
Sam, that was a really, really impressive drive for Fury Simsport. How did you find it out there today?
Not too bad, really. I made a lot of mistakes, honestly. Obviously, I got Ben at the end of lap 1, and then made a mistake early on lap 2. Had a spin, got some damage from that, and that was costing me maybe half a second a lap in the first stint, and it really hurt me trying to get back through the field. So I took my the fast repair at the first stop and just tried to make up for it from there. I had an unfortunate incident with Anton just before the second stop, which to me looked like completely like netcode. So it was just unfortunate, and I just never really sort of got back to him at the end there. But yeah, no good result overall, really, considering.
Absolutely, and of course your teammates with Matt Dorrington at Fury Simsport. Now the big question is, have you managed to get hold of one of the rare Midas Simulations keyrings?
Oh, I haven't. I wasn't aware they existed.
I know.
On that one now.
Now that's not him being a good teammate. So what you need to do is you get on the team group chat and you say, Matt, Peter says you've got to give him one of the Midas Simulation keyrings because they are prized, the Midas Simulation keyrings.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll have to get on him on that. I might become a customer of his soon anyway, so we'll see what happens there.
Well, then there's no excuse. Then he can pop a couple in the box for you with your new shiny kit. What are you lining up for your rig? What's the next purchase?
Oh, I've just sort of graduated uni and just started my first sort of job, so probably quite a big, expensive rig upgrade, I think. It's clamped to a desk at the moment, so.
Excellent. I love that. First job, blast the paycheck on some equipment. I love it. Excellent stuff, Sam. Well, before we let you go, who would you like to shout out to on Simracersworld TV?
Just the rest of the Fury team, really. Obviously, the guys that raced yesterday, and everyone else in the team, particularly, been quite helpful with everything at the setups and the like. And also to Ed May, who was your co-commentator yesterday, who hopefully I'll be doing an endurance race with this weekend. So, yeah.
Fantastic stuff. Well, Sam, thanks so much for coming to join us in the commentary box, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time for Daytona.
Cool. Thank you very much.
That was Sam Baxter there, being interviewed by Peter MacKay. Peter, it was a busy night as always in the Simracersworld GT EVO Series, but tonight I think more than any other, with it being one of the shortest circuits we've got on the calendar, it really was almost going into the unknown for a lot of these drivers, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a circuit that maybe won't be, familiar to some. It's it's not a Grand Prix circuit. It's a little bit more kind of under the radar that way. But if you're sports car racing fans, any sports car racing fans know about Road Atlanta. But it's a tricky circuit. It's very undulating. Particularly the opening section when you come up, the blind entry to turn 3 is so challenging. But yeah, it's really good. And I mean, Vincenzo Amico, what can you say? I mean, just flawless again, and to just pound out laps at that speed, just never out of the 1:15s for 90 minutes. Very impressive.
Yeah, as always, he did a brilliant job, and it's that time again. Sadly, we're going to have to say goodbye I think the next event we will have here on Simracersworld TV will be next Wednesday. Do correct me if I'm wrong, Peter, but that is, I think I'm joining you in the commentary box for that one. That's going to be at Imola for the Porsche Club GB Sim Racing Championship, isn't it?
I think so. Yes, I think so. And also on Sunday, the GT3 World League, where our new recruit Jack will be with Hasaroma for that. So do tune into that on Sunday evening.
Yeah, so you've got Jack Oliphant in the commentary box. He was in the commentary box a few weeks ago for the Daytona 500, and when we're closing out the stream, there'll be a few details on screen about the new Simracersworld NASCAR Winter Series, and all the details are on there. When it is, what tracks we go to, and all the sign-up links and everything else like that. And as you can see at the bottom of your screen, it says www.simracersworld.com. You can go through there and get all the links that you need for it as well. But once again, Peter, it's been an absolute pleasure commentating with you here at Road Atlanta for round 8 of the Simracersworld GT EVO Series. But everybody, thank you very, very much for watching along. It's been an absolute pleasure. We'll see you very, very soon.